Alright, today class we'll be learning about lesson 19, which talks about comparison shopping. So we'll be doing a little shopping today, talking about how to identify the best buy. And so we are going to, by the end of the lesson, you'll know how to solve problems by analyzing different tables, equations, and graphs. So let's get started with example 1. So example 1 says the ratio of cups of blue paint to cups of red paint is 1 to 2, which means for every cup of blue paint, there are 2 cups of red paint. In this case, the equation would be, would look like red equals 2 times blue. Or simply, R equals 2B. The R, this variable would stand for red, and my B would stand for blue. And anytime you have a number by a variable, this lets us know that it's the operation of multiplication. Alright, so let's move on. So in this case, the equation would be red equals 2 times blue, or R equals 2B, where B represents the amount of blue paint, and R represents the amount of red paint. So we're going to make a table of the values. So this is our simple ratio table. It's just written horizontal. So I'm going to label that as a ratio table. And I know that these columns have to have names. So in my first column, I'm going to put cups of blue paint because blue paint came first. In the next row, I'm going to put cups of red paint. Alright, and now let's recall that they told us in the paragraph that the ratio of blue paint to red paint is 1 to 2. So this is the ratio, the starting ratio that we're working with. So the 1 represents the blue paint and the 2 represents my red paint. So I'm just going to fill in those values. 1 to 2. So the next thing that's important when you're looking at ratio tables is to make sure that your starting ratio is already simplified. So 1 to 2 is already simplified, so I know that I can take these numbers and simply count by them all the way down my ratio table. So on the top column I should be counting by ones, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? On the bottom column, I'm counting by 2's. So this should be 2, 4, 6, 8. Alright, so let's move right along. We are going to answer the question. So examine the table and identify the unit rate. So anytime you hear the word unit rate, you're trying to figure out something that deals with the number 1, okay? So we want to find the unit rate for this table, okay? So how do we find the unit rate? We simply divide. So all we're going to do is we're going to take any one of these ratios on the table and I'm going to divide. So we're going to think of these columns as X and Y, okay? X and Y. So when I want to find the unit rate, I simply do Y over X. Now to make that really simple for you to understand, you're going to divide your second column by your first column. Second divided by first column. That's going to tell you what your unit rate is. So I can say 2 divided by 1, which is
2.
2. 4 divided by 2, which is
2.
2. 6 divided by 3, which is
2.
2. 8 divided by 4, which is
2.
2. So my unit rate for this table is simply
2.
2. Okay? Now it says, where do you see this value in the equation? We see that it's represented by the equation that we started with. So remember the equation that we started with was red equals 2B, right? So we see that this 2, which is our unit rate, is also in our what?
Equation.
Okay? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to try example 2. So if you refer to the student copy, example 2 has another scenario that's really similar to the one that we did together. The only thing that's different, check the board for me. The only thing that's different is that instead of having your ratio already written out like 1 to 2, they give it to you as a fraction. So you're going to try this one on your own. It says write 3/4. So in your example, it gives you a fraction. It says 3/4. But we know that we can write a ratio in 3 different forms, right? So let's just change 3/4 to make it look just like this 1 to 2 looked. So I could use a colon or the word what?
2.
Or the word 2. So instead of having 3/4 as a fraction, I'm going to simply change it to 3:4. Okay? So now I'm able to fill in my ratio table just like we did up here. Okay? And then I should be able to identify my unit rate from the table. Okay? Remember, when you're identifying the unit rate, you have to do y over x. So this column, second column, divided by the first column. And that will tell you your unit rate and also what your equation would look like.